Hey Russ, how you doing?
Very well, thank you very much, Rich. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live with our pals at Aircall. It's part of a series of partner events we've got lined up each month. And you can check out the past ones on our Six and Flow website if you want. I don't know what the URL is, but if you go to the Six and Flow website, it'll be up in the video section, up in the header. So today we're going to talk to continue on the whole growth theme. Of course, obviously that's what Six and Flow does. That's pretty much what we talk about all the time. As organizations look to their next growth chapter, they have to start looking at the technology and processes that drive efficiency and nail that customer experience. And that's what brings us to Aircall. Customer communication is about consistency and transparency. Having unified communication hits that full funnel flywheel life cycle, marketing to sales to service, and accelerating it to no end. Today, we're going to talk about how to scale organizations and how they can address malfunctioning communication and how linking your comms with your CRM can have a dramatic impact on your growth. I have Russ Big, the head of channel at Aircall, joining me to share how to use Aircall to build transparency within your CRM by offering a single source of truth. And I'm going to ask him some questions about growth along the way. So, Russ, welcome to the party. Did I intro you properly there? Is that actually what you're going to talk to us about today, or have I just made it up and
No,
thrown you in at the deep
completely
end?
wrong. I don't know what I'm here for today, so I'm only joking. Yeah, that's as close as you can get to it. So I think exactly that. But yeah, thanks for having us today. I've got a few things to share with you. Looking forward to some of the questions that come in and etc. So yeah, absolutely. Thrilled to be here, and obviously followed you guys for some time. We're good partners, strong partners together, and yeah, it's a privilege to actually be in your company today, Rich. I must admit. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
mate. I did put a hat on today because I was worried there wasn't going to be a lot of hair on this call. So I've figured I'd mix it up a little bit. Just and you're calling it from Ascot, right? How's it in Ascot today?
Yeah, so just outside of Ascot, so people that know Ascot, it's down where the Ascot races are, which is held quite a lot, and we have numerous different things down this way. But actually, it's sunny but cool because we've had some rain finally after weeks and weeks and weeks. So everyone's a bit relieved, and certainly so is the grass and the plants. But yeah, for us, that's where I am. Been here for most of my life down this way, but Aircall itself has an office in London, main office in Paris. But yeah, I fluctuate between home, Ascot, and then obviously the London office as well.
Nice. Right, I'm going to hand over the screen share to you, and we can get into it.
Perfect, thank you, sir. Let me just change. Do this. Okay, so how's that look? Is that okay?
Perfect.
Lovely stuff. So, right, thank you. Thanks again for the introduction, Rich. So, welcome. Basically, this session is really going to be about as much interactive as you like. So, please ask questions, post the questions, and Rich will facilitate those for us. But really, continue with the theme of growth. It's about enhancing the visibility of within your CRM. So, how Aircall work with HubSpot on our story with HubSpot here. So obviously, as Rich said, I'm the head of channel for UK, UK and Ireland, and cover South Africa as well. So we have a partnerships community based in the UK and obviously abroad partnerships across the world. So yeah, we cover all different angles within that. And Six and Flow being one of our senior, or we call it premium partners. So people that work heavily in the HubSpot ecosystem as we do. Some people, just so you're aware, to position Aircall. Aircall, I mean, the way we look at it, we're investing in growth in technology, and that's why recently we've got the Goldman Sachs invested 120 million into our business. And as an organization, we just reached the 100 million ARR piece, which is a big milestone for Aircall. We continue to grow. We've got physical locations, a lot more of those now. London office has had a couple of changes as we've grown and got more people, but we're around 720 plus people within the globally for Aircall. And one of the things that makes us unique, and the reason we're here today to talk about the HubSpot piece, is the fact that Aircall is the most downloaded call software on the HubSpot marketplace. So over 7,000 applications that are downloaded from there and installed from there. And we have over 12,000 customers globally. And 65% of those, I think that might be slightly higher now since the last time I did the research, but I have a HubSpot integration. So it's very, very tight. And with that connectivity, the relationship's really strong. And I always add this quote on here, and it's largely down, and it just means Aircall makes HubSpot more HubSpot. And that's really where we're going with this. And that's why we've got such a good relationship with all our HubSpot partners and HubSpot themselves. And one thing to bring your attention to is we now are officially, as of June, end of June 2022, so a couple of months ago, we are officially a strategic partnership partner with HubSpot. So basically what that means is we're able to provide, working with HubSpot and the HubSpot community and ecosystem, we're able to provide lots of extensive offers alongside lots of custom marketing to basically support our customers, joint customers and partners. So really, really strong piece of where we play. So we talked about the theme, why HubSpot customers love Aircall, and it's really around the fact that we've delivered on all of the different HubSpot hubs. Essentially, what we're trying to do and what we continue to do is enhance that. So the relationship with HubSpot and with our partners within the HubSpot ecosystem, we're able to enhance that by offering a high level of advanced analytics, lots of fundamental features that are in call center, call quality, and then we're looking at ways we can automate and track content and contacts within the HubSpot ecosystem. And it's really where we play well. And as I mentioned, that's kind of the things. So before I move on there, Rich, we've got any questions or anything that's popping up that you're aware of?
So who is your main customer, right? So like I get it, like it fits really well with HubSpot, but who is the main person that would be using HubSpot? Aircall.
So we've been very fortunate that we've kind of expanded the different industries that we operate in. But essentially, if there's we try and position ourselves in that call and contact center arena, and the reason being is because we're adding productivity. And we focus more so on the small to medium businesses into mid-market. And the reason we focus there is because we realize that it's more about productivity and enhancements to existing platforms. Aircall is very much an integration first organization. So where we built our strengths is around the integrations, and we have over 100 and something integrations out of the box. So every CRM is covered. And obviously we continue to expand on that, but it really means that we can approach more organizations as they adopt a CRM or a platform of truth. And I guess where we sort of, if we had to pigeonhole ourselves in some ways, it would be in that sales and support requirement under, say, 350 users. So people or individuals, whether they're in the outbound or inbound capacity, they would be requiring to make calls and track that call activity. So really, the industries that we're doing extremely well in is fintech, within recruitment. Actually, we've seen a massive growth in that. Really, and then looking at sort of the e-commerce market. So very much about how organizations want to track that customer journey with their marketing activity, where lead flow comes in from the call quality, the call connectivity, and tracking all that activity afterwards. So it's kind of that they're the sort of areas, and that's the sort of size of organization. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Wonderful. Perfect stuff. Okay. Now, what I will talk to you about next is really, we talked about closing the gap. We talked about that visibility within the CRM. And basically with Aircall and the integrations that we've built and continue to build, we're able to see all activity and capture that in the activity feeds, including recordings, information about the call, tags and notes. All of that can appear in the HubSpot environment. So you can live and breathe within that HubSpot ecosystem, and actually the Aircall application doesn't disrupt what you're doing. It lives natively in that same capacity. So with this, you're able to see inbound and outbound calls directly into your activity feed. You're also able to expand what you see and how you track that activity. So you can see within the way that we put the reports into HubSpot, you can see a dashboard, and then you can see everything from the most used tags, the calls, the missed calls, the missed reasons, all of that information. And you can really see on a live perspective who's making the most calls and make them accountable for that activity. And similarly with that, you can also track how the particular agents or users are actually performing in their roles. So you're able to build trends, nurture from a training perspective, have access to recordings directly, and also for the admins, you have access to the Aircall dashboard, which then be able to do like a live feed, and you can actually physically click on the individual and listen directly into those calls. So have that live coaching element, but also that reporting, and you can customize those. And then we look at really how to make calls outbound as well as receiving the calls, and what ways we make it easier for that HubSpot user to make calls. So we have the click to call functionality. So it's an application or it's an extension that allows you to populate the numbers into a power dialing list. So you can have all those numbers in there, and it will automatically sync with HubSpot as well. So you add contacts in Aircall, it will fill in within the HubSpot ecosystem, and similarly the other way. So it'll pull that information. So when you're doing these click to calls, when you run that marketing campaign and you've got a list of numbers to call through, you can put it in a sequence and therefore call through, and it will automatically call those until it connects. And that's the power of what we're trying to offer in here. And then finally, what we try and do is provide that insight. So what you're seeing on the screen is the Aircall application, but there's a caller insights card that will pop up as soon as a call comes in, and therefore refreshing the HubSpot backend. So you can see that on the HubSpot Live, but allows you to go into whether it was an opportunity or whether it's a ticket or whether it's just the contact record. You can see that firsthand and directly from the Aircall application. So those things are really, where we look at it as a really important part of giving that visibility and enhancing what you're doing from every contact center agent, every sales agent. And if there's calls coming into and someone picks up another call, it will refresh that HubSpot thing so you can see the activity that's passed, so you can act accordingly to what the last activities were. Does that make sense, Rich?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's like the main question that pops up for me in this is, so HubSpot has some calling functionality, and also you're not the only player in the market. So why would somebody choose to go with Aircall rather than some of your competitors, or just using some of the native HubSpot calling features?
Great question. I'll break it into two. So with regards to the competition in the market, as I said at the very beginning, we're the most downloaded phone solution from the HubSpot marketplace. So there's certainly something to be said for that. Obviously, we do come up against other competitors in the market, but we have the most enhanced integration. So we have there's a lot more that you can do within HubSpot. So really, we're at the constraints of what HubSpot is. So whatever the limitations in HubSpot is what we work to. We can do everything that from an automation perspective, from documenting and tracking all the call activity. All of that lives natively in Aircall, and we have the best integration within that. We also are, I believe, and I will probably say this and probably get kicked for it, but we're the only voice strategic partner of HubSpot's. So the only vendor for voice that's a strategic partner for HubSpot, which is a big deal. So that's why I mentioned at the beginning, because hopefully the listeners and future customers will also see the fact that the confidence that HubSpot has in us, and obviously you guys, the partners of HubSpot, large partners of HubSpot. The reason why you choose Aircall and to position Aircall along with HubSpot is because you're confident in it. It will deliver what it says on the tin. So that's kind of where we sit, or where we see our competition. When it comes to HubSpot caller or HubSpot dialer, that obviously isn't a native phone solution. So we're a telephony provider. So what we do is telephony, but we do integration extremely well. What HubSpot does extremely well is their CRM and all the different parts within that. So they have a good solution. Don't get me wrong, it is great. However, sometimes based on price, we come up in a stronger position. Also, the fact that we have that, that history of being successful. And before HubSpot had that inbound call functionality, we were the one that was preferred over that, because obviously we were able to provide that inbound visibility within HubSpot. So, we're very fortunate to be in this position where HubSpot recommend us on a daily basis for over and above their own solutions. So their product is good. They know ours is better, but they obviously get commissioned on that as well. And there's lots of functionality that's built into that. But we have a lot more features and functionality and lots of different things that we can also integrate to. So one thing that I think we talked to a recent customer and they had HubSpot as their main CRM, but then they were using that more for sales and marketing. But then they had a support platform, which was, I think, Zendesk. And we have the ability to put into both. So, we can, through one single pane of glass, i.e. Aircall application, you can have that full integration into both platforms and synchronize the support team and separate that from the HubSpot piece.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So obviously I'm biased. We are a HubSpot partner. This is HubSpot through and through. That's what we do. But obviously it's not the only thing that Aircall integrates with. You already mentioned Zendesk there. What else can you connect Aircall in? Because I know we've got a couple of clients where Aircall, HubSpot, and then other solutions are also attached to that. So what else can you stitch it into?
Quite a lot, to be honest with you. So we have around, I think the last count was about 102 integrations out of the box. Now, what that means is basically the majority of our integrations have actually been built by other integration partners. So we have strategic partners. We deliver and we support to all the major CRM platforms and ticketing systems. But then outside of those CRMs, there's also other enhancements, other vendor enhancements, such as real-time transcriptions and analytics. There's things like front end integration. So you've got ways in which to track the activity. We either have strategic partners that do that map basically the customer journey. As soon as they hit the website, they're able to give a unique identifier, and they want to be able to associate a number, i.e. an Aircall number, to their sort of history and their accountability within that web page. And so we're able to provide those integrations that work really, really well. But Salesforce is obviously one that we've been party to. Zendesk, Pipedrive, Monday.com. Actually, we're only Monday.com voice provider as well. And the majority of our integrations are built around that two-way synchronization of contacts. However, with HubSpot, with Salesforce, with Zendesk and others, we actually have the CTI built in, whereby you're able to use the calling functionality directly within that CRM platform. So you don't have the Aircall application running separately, as in a separate window or anything like that. So that's really, really helpful. But HubSpot is the best one for us. What we've done so far, certainly we have more customers using the HubSpot integration than we do with the others.
Yeah. Michelle says in the comments, Aircall is super helpful as a sales rep, massive time saver. So I'm presuming she's talking about logging data into the CRM and not having to do that anymore.
Honestly, Rich, what we found is exactly that. We use certain individuals from a sales perspective use HubSpot internally, and they really find that whatever you put, the information you put in is automatic into the Aircall application. So the notes and the information is automatically into the live feed within the HubSpot. And similarly, what you do and the updates, you can see that in the caller insights. So yeah, it really helps. But I think that probably leads us nicely onto the other part, Rich, which is really the automation. And this is one of the things that sets us apart. And the reason it does is because we're able to provide, the customers are able to use like triggers and Aircall tags or call disposition codes. And essentially what that means is within the HubSpot ecosystem, you can create a trigger based upon an Aircall tag, which will then create an action. So some of the examples I looked at, and actually let me just show you this example within my HubSpot ecosystem. So if hopefully you're seeing that on the screen. Yep. So basically this was like an outbound marketing campaign through socials. We then basically, you can see here that the Aircall application is picking up those numbers that I can click to dial. And as I mentioned on the other piece, if I wanted to show those numbers and add them to a power dialer, essentially they'll appear here. And also the information about those individuals was also going to appear here because it lives in Aircall and in HubSpot. So if you think of it in this way, you're making those phone calls, And then after that phone call, you want to add a call disposition code from an Aircall. You want to add a tag. That tag will essentially create a trigger. And then in this example, what we've done is we have an outbound, so they're an inbound sales development role, but essentially they'll get a lead and they will actively call and qualify that. And if it's a positive lead, then they'll put SDR positive connect. So they had a really good call. And what that will then do is create a trigger and then send out an email based upon the action. So it's information about Aircall, it's where to go, where to trial sign up and things like that. So FAQs and what have you. And it will automatically do that based upon, as soon as you put that phone down or when you click end, then all of that information starts off that trigger functionality within the HubSpot ecosystem. And that's why the triggers are really good. And that's why we really enforce the fact that people should use those mandatory tags to really get the most out of Aircall and HubSpot.
I would say actually that's a very minor point, but actually fundamentally, some of your competitors and customers have asked us to integrate before won't pass through those call outcomes. So we can't trigger events in the same way that we would, or we have to this lengthy workarounds to get to that point. So just being able to do it out of the box is super helpful. I've actually got a question from Michelle in the comments as well. She says, does Aircall support pre-recorded voicemails for outbound calls?
So no, unfortunately not. So I know what she's talking about. So it's more of a power dialer or an outbound sales perspective. Unfortunately, we don't do that part. It's one of those things that we feel that obviously there's a lot that we can still improve on, and we've got a lot of product enhancements. It's certainly on the feature list. We've had it asked from a lot, so we can try to compete with, or we have a lot of times, certainly in the South African market, we have a lot of companies that want that power dialer. We really want to be able to drop a voicemail in if they have no connection. So we don't have that today. I'm sure we will in the future.
So I can't use it to cold call people and ask them if they've been in an accident recently.
Only a few, no. But saying that, we do have other integrations that can probably do that. So you can use the Aircall application in order to make the calls, and then we'll have a third party or add that level on top to then provide that. Have you been in an accident? If someone says no or says leave me alone, then it hangs up, or if it's connected, it will connect to a next agent. So there is integrations out there, and we have APIs that you can customize that as well. So it's a no from Aircall product, but there are other products out there that can probably add on to Aircall.
What is is there any sort of IVR type functionality like out of the box with Aircall?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Aircall and the way that we the different options you have from a routing perspective. So when you're looking at distribution, whether you're looking at it from an inbound or outbound perspective, we have ways to accommodate sort of complex environments. So there might be teams, multiple teams, in which case we can create those teams and individuals under that. And when like the IVR sequence, if you're pressing 1 for this, 2 for that, you can route to specific numbers, and under those numbers you'll have the teams or the individuals. You can do the continuous ringing, so you can have it ring everyone simultaneously. You can have it set to longest idle and other different variants of that. But the IVR function can be as detailed as you want. So a lot of customers, they press 1 for sales, press 2 for support, and when they get through to the sales team, press new or existing, and then they go to the right teams, and it will ring to the right teams based upon how you've placed them in the distribution. And that really helpful. You can use that that number, that IVR, to create more numbers, direct numbers for those individuals as well. So which is really quite easy to set up. But yeah, there's not a huge limit to how you create it, and even complex situations. And actually one point that one of my customers raised with me, can we route to a specific agent? And I said, well, there is ways of doing that, but actually, have you thought about priority routing? In which case, what we do is, if, for example, Rich, you've been speaking to Ajax trucks, for example, on a regular basis, and they call in, but it will ring you. It will move you into that priority, and it'll ring you first because you've had that a lot more into a lot more conversation. So it identifies that from a regular contact perspective.
Nice. Yeah, it's very similar to like lead rotation within HubSpot. If somebody is already in contact with them, they own that lead, we would kind of prioritize it going back through to them. Lakan's asked a question, and I think you kind of answered it in the previous bit, but he says, can you create automated triggers such as if a call does not engage or goes to voicemail? So I think that's based on the call outcome that you've got on screen at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is just one example. The other example would be, so if I look at my history within my HubSpot, so the tags are listed in the activity feed. So you've got multiple different tags associated in here. Okay, so basically these are the tags that will create a workflow. So then you can create a workflow based on Aircall tags. So however you want to do it, and you can create a new workflow, use a template, whatever, however you want to do it in the action. But essentially what you're looking to do is pull out the trigger based on an Aircall disposition, and that's what you're looking to do. And you can completely customize those triggers, so, or those tags. So these here, obviously with the last tags, you've got lots that you can use, but they have, so from an Aircall perspective, you can completely put whatever you like, and you could put in, and when you're building out the trends, and when you're building out on the dashboard what you want them to look like. For example, let me just log into my dashboard, because that will, I can show you, how customized you can be. You can be literally add whatever you like in there. So in the call settings, the tags, and this has a ton of tags. So we've got everything in here. So you've got whatever you want based upon what any call outcome you want. Okay, so there's hundreds and hundreds in here, but you literally can add a tag and call it what you like. So we could call it this Rich Wood tag. Okay, so then I can change whatever color I want, and I can do confirm that. Now, when I make a call from Aircall, for example, I can add Rich Wood tag in there, and then in the reports based in either HubSpot or an Aircall, I'll also be able to pull a report on how many times that tag was used. And within the HubSpot ecosystem, we can create a workflow off the back to say, once that Rich Wood tag has been used, it will automatically send an email or automatically put a login for someone to call that person back, because that is what they're trying to track, and that is what they're trying to create. All good?
All good. Selassie says priority ringing. Love that.
Excellent. I love it too, Selassie. Thanks very much. You want me to talk about a customer story. So I've got that here. Any other questions before I jump into that? Because I think we can cover off. This sits in a different angle. So we've talked about sales quite a lot. This is going into the support side, and this is why we're quite varied. We're quite agile, and we can cover different requirements. But is there any other questions before I jump in there?
The only other question I had was, what about regional coverage? Like how far, where do you cover, where do you not cover?
Okay, so Aircall being a telephony provider, we cover all the major regions. So as an organization, we have presence in, I think, over 10 different locations, but we utilize carriers in those regions. So we can cover all numbers in those regions. The areas that we don't really are the ones that every telephony provider outside of those specific regions, like China and let's say Saudi Arabia, certain places like that have those restrictions on VoIP. And there is only those areas that we can't cover. And that's pretty much the same, or the coverage that you get from all major telcos. So from a regional perspective, we can support a lot of different languages. So we have a support team that covers, I think, 11 different languages or 14 different languages. So we can support that. Our product is able to support in different languages as well. I can't remember off the top of my head how many, but all the major languages we can support there. But from a coverage perspective, we can get you numbers for all the regions we can cover. And there's a big list of numbers and countries that we support. I think it's in here. Let me just see. Country coverage. So this is the vast number of different locations that we cover. And then we also do cover a lot of regions, and these are the numbers where we can provide local. So make note of that, aircall.io/countries, and that will give you a breakdown of all the numbers, all the coverage that we have. Okay.
Nice.
You're welcome. Okay, let's talk about a story. So not just take my word for it, take the word of a customer. Now I've left the customer off here just in case they might get upset, but we have had approval before, so I didn't want to upset it. So this example within the transport and logistics industry. So again, when we talked about ideal profile, transport and logistics really wasn't one of those, but actually they're a HubSpot user. They use Service Hub and they needed basically the requirements here. So this is where they sit. So there are 50 users or up to 50 users. They have a 20 odd numbers. They cover Europe from a calling perspective, so an inbound and outbound, but they're based in the UK. And they have that advanced IVR that they need, numbers, they want reports, and they have that call center service level that they need to hit. So they use Service Hub. Now, a lot of these are their quotes, and I won't go through all of them, but if we focus on the last one here, which is every call activity of my agent should create a ticket. Okay, so he's basically asking, or they're basically asking for that as a requirement, as well as others. And we do that. So this is the example. So Aircall automatically would create a ticket for each activity. And then within the HubSpot ecosystem, admins can then create or attribute them to specific pipeline and other tickets statuses for each type of call. So we helped in that example to create that automatically. And that really boosted their efficiency and the visibility and enhanced what they're seeing within the CRM. And then when you look at that automatic ticket creation, how do you create it? So within Aircall, you'll create this area on the left-hand side. So you choose the HubSpot pipeline where you want to support it. Is it support? You create where you want to create a ticket within the HubSpot using the drop-down menu. And then it will automatically feed into the HubSpot example here on the right-hand side. So tracking that activity, being able to view that details against a particular contact or ticket within there as well. And then, the power of what we do, we're also able to address the other pieces in there as well. So, they want that post-call data entry. They want to be able to help automatically log that information against any information they take around that ticket. They want to be able to log it and then report on it. They want to be able to pull those triggers and workflows into calls around contact properties. So again, Aircall can help with that, with the workflows and creating that tags and that call dispositions into automating those triggers. And then obviously we discussed that part on there. So a lot of things that they wanted, we can cover. And I think really from our perspective, we see these happen quite a lot. And it's not just Service Hub in isolation. They have the full suite, and therefore they want to maximize that. And Aircall can fulfill those actions. So kind of, in a nutshell, there's a lot of things you can do with Aircall and HubSpot. And back to that quote at the very beginning, Aircall makes HubSpot more HubSpot. And that's really where we're going with this. And that's why our strategic relationship has been built. And that's why we work with the likes of you, Rich, because, at the end of the day, you guys do extremely well with the HubSpot piece, and you want a product that supports that and can also help that customer in their requirements. So that's really what
would you say would be the main KPI that somebody comes to you with? So what is the main thing I'm trying to affect if I'm buying Aircall?
Productivity, I would say. They're trying to, we talked about big words like enhance, invisibility, but it is really true. If you think about when I was a salesperson originally, we worked out of a book and we wrote everything down, and we used an old platform called Goldmine before Salesforce existed. Or it did exist, but it was very basic. And what I would have loved back then would have been the ability to everything that I said, everything that I did, I would just populate it in one place. And that would allow me then to always have everything in one place, but I could, all my calls, all the activities automatically log, all the notes I take log. So I don't have to, once I finish the call and then updating it, and then I have to go back and make another call, because everything should work in tandem. Everything should work seamlessly. So Aircall is providing that productivity. So it reduces a number of different things. Time to call, time to lead, from when they get a call in, they've got all the information. They can close that call down a lot quicker. If they're an outbound, they've got the prospecting data. They can create call lists within HubSpot, click to call those, and everything sits in there. So the speed to lead is a really strong part there from an outbound perspective. From an inbound perspective, it's that productivity, it's that agent efficiency. And also, let's be honest, within the contact center world, the churn can be reasonably high because they haven't got the ability to support those reps remotely. They can't do their jobs remotely, not always. And having that flexibility and having an agile platform like the Aircall HubSpot combination makes them more efficient in their jobs, reduces that churn. So we're affecting a lot, Rich, really.
Do you reckon most of your customer base is more of a sales motion or a CS motion to begin with?
Good question. I do know the stat, actually. It was pulled about a couple of months back. The majority, I would say, is from an outbound perspective. So therefore, probably more sales.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, great. And so I think you were just coming on to the getting in touch. If people want to find out more about Aircall, or they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do it?
Well, I would say the best way to do it is, well, at the end of the day, we have a partnership. So, and our product inside and out, and they're obviously interested in both Aircall and HubSpot, if that's the case. But certainly go through your website under partners. You'll be able to see Aircall within that. So you can click on that. My details are on LinkedIn. You can come to me on LinkedIn and you can hit me a DM through that, obviously, or come directly to you, Rich. I mean, flexibility here, but there's lots of ways. If they want to register for a trial, I suggest come to me first or go through you guys, because that way we can make sure we give them the best experience possible, so we can enable all the features so they can get the maximum from that, and we can extend the trial times and things like that. So yeah, come to me, come to you, or go directly to Six and Flow website under partners. You'll see the information there.
Awesome. Russ, thank you very much for hanging out with me.
Thank you, mate, and the best.
See you in London soon.
You will indeed. Enjoy the rest of your day, daughter's birthday and everything like that. So
thanks very much.
You're welcome, mate. All right. Thanks ever so much for your time today.
See you later, everybody.